but it was handled by an outside source that entered into Murder Incorporated. Those were the guys that would go out and extract the revenge, to control the problem. And a lot of times, those were Jews and Irishmen. They weren't Italians that did that work. So, I gotta kill this other phone. Um, so I mean that part kind of. So I look at those guys as these four guys that came from another country that had nothing, and their idea of the American dream was to make a living for their families. Now,
Right.
bootlegging was their hottest thing, and they didn't invent it, but they knew how to get ahead in it. So yeah, they were ripping off other bootleggers and things like that. Gambling was their big step, but a lot of people say, oh well, they were responsible for drugs. The older guys were not responsible for drugs. Those were the young Turks, the younger guys coming up in the mob,
Mm-hmm.
because they figured it was quick money. They could make their own name in it. But the old timers used to say, leave that to the poor people, leave that to the darkies, leave that to the black people. I mean, and that's why you had so much drugs in the lower class sides of New York,
Mm-hmm.
and which brought into a whole play of organized crime in the black areas, and they had their own organizations. So
Sure.
everybody kind of answered into this organized crime, which allowed them all to make good money off of all the deals. So that gambling was, I mean, there was gambling all over the country. I mean, there were casinos in Florida, there were casinos out west, there was casinos everywhere, even though Vegas got the legal casinos, and
Right.
then Cuba, and then of course Cuba at the same time. Vegas was really growing into its own. Cuba was growing into its own, and my grandfather was in Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
so he was working with Batista and ran a big casino for Batista, and then Batista gave him permission to build his own. So that's where my family gets screwed. My
Yeah.
grandfather, he built a beautiful place. It's still there, the
Mm-hmm.
Riviera. It's still there. It's still beautiful, and it was his casino. And then shortly after they opened, Castro came in and chased everybody out. So a lot of people, they miss out on the part. Organized crime really didn't hurt a lot of innocent people that were victimless crimes. They were,
Right. The civilians.
gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't after just normal people in general for that.
No, if you screw with the family and you were in the family business, you got punished. But your family, your wife, your kids, they were always taken care of.
Right.
If dad screwed up and he ended up being taken out, the families would take care of the families. So, I mean, it's my buddy's sitting here for 40 years. We've been best friends for all the bars and everything. My name's George Ramos, and he's Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
It's guys like him that make me want to go to Cuba and visit. The only thing, I've said so many negative things about the Castro family in newspaper articles. I'm a little afraid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not on their A list for guest
Yeah, no,
celebrity.
they probably got a special room for me with bread
Yeah,
and water.
Raul wants to get out the cattle prod and do whatever else
Yeah,
they've
yep.
perfected down there.
So
So
I probably won't be going to Cuba real soon, but
I
Obama will come back
wonder.
into office. Obama's wife's going to run for president when she gets into office. Then maybe they'll open Cuba back up again.
Well, we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Well, we lost most of the rights to the hotel now anyway, because the Cuban government has sold it to a Spanish company, um, and they went in and they've put about 25-30 million dollars into renovating the hotel to modernize
Right.
it. So now there's never going to be justice in Cuba as long as it stays communistic. And even if it didn't, there's so many people that are owed from the old regime that there's
Right.
no way to ever make them all whole again. So we'll see what happens. I've got this attorney who's interested in the whole case and has come up with a little twist and an angle, which I can't share with you yet. But as soon as we hear something about it, you'll be the first one to get the report on it. You'll be the breaking news, you know. But right now, we're just kind of sitting pat and watching our cards. Oh
We're
yeah,
talking about
he,
mob
they
history.
did.
We're talking about his grandfather, the late Meyer Lansky, alleged organized crime head of the table, man, just the top tier.
The financial wizard. The
L-
financial wizard.
Absolutely. Let's
He
see.
did have a tremendous mind for mathematics, and he was first. He learned the hard way. He would go and watch the crap games, and a couple times he figured he was going to take that nickel and make it work for him, and he lost the nickel and had to go home and take an ass whooping from his father over it.
Right.
But then he figured out percentages. He figured out probability, and he
So
knew the
he
game.
was playing it like a statistician in his head. He was working these angles that others people weren't really thinking of from a, you think about it, the average street level mob guy, a lot of those guys aren't at that level of, sitting there worried about their interest,
Right,
compounding it. And it's
But
much more of a job.
it became quite an organization. The line that was in The Godfather that we're bigger than U.S. Steel, which he never said, but it was a good line in The Godfather. So
I was curious about that, and I'm sure you've been asked a million times. I hear it asked in almost every interview, so I'm asking it just because. How accurate is The Godfather? I know that there was allegedly organized crime who oversaw in the background, the unions in New York.
The Godfather was a fictional story.
Right.
And the guys that wrote it, Mario Puzo, when he wrote it, he took like several families and compiled them into an interesting story.
Right.
Now, if you talk to my cousin, Meyer Lansky II, he swears by The Godfather. But he had only seen my grandfather 6 times in his whole life. My grandfather raised me. Every week he was at our house, either eating or coming to see what was going on. He was at every important thing in my life, my graduations, Christmas, you name it. My grandfather was always there. Where Meyer, and I feel bad because Meyer really didn't have the time with him that I did. But Meyer's kind of tried to capitalize on having that name, Meyer Lansky II, which I don't know if you know much about Jews, but you're not supposed to name somebody after somebody that's still alive. Right. So my uncle Paul kind of did a little in there, and I'm not quite sure why, but from what I understand from my mom, Uncle Paul, and my grandfather weren't always the best of friends. So
absolutely,
no. But Uncle Paul was a West Point graduate. My grandfather was very proud of that. He did serve. He did serve a little time in Korea, a little time in Vietnam. So he's always been a hero of mine, and I really, really, really love my uncle. I love my Uncle Buddy, too. My Uncle Buddy has cerebral palsy, but I grew up on Miami Beach with my Uncle Buddy. So, he worked at a hotel that I worked at, and, sometimes if I couldn't make it home at night, I'd crash in his room, or he'd comp a room for me at the hotel.
Right.
Terrible gambler. If my uncle bet on one team, you were best to bet on the other team. And then I had an uncle on my father's side of the family that was the same way. And for some reason, the two of them had become friends before my mom and dad got married. They were gambling buddies, but they both were born losers. Neither one of them ever had a winning streak. But they were probably the closest uncles I had in my family. So.
Right. Well, that's funny. I've never really had that gambling bug myself, but when I see people who are really ate up with it, I'm like, damn. You'd think after a while you'd just give in and say, fuck it. There's other ways to keep my cash.
Well, we lived the rock and roll lifestyle. So, we had our own issues in life, sex and rock and roll.
Sure. Did you ever go to Cuba?
No, I never got to go. My mom went. My uncles went.
That's cool.
I tease everybody. I tell them I'm writing a book because my mom had written the book. And I tell everybody I'm writing a book called A Generation Too Late. Because if I was born when they were, and my grandfather was my father, I probably would have been in the business.
Right.
I just had the feel for it. I was the bar food, mostly the bar business for most of my life. Bands, liquor specials, wet t-shirt contest, wet naked contest, beach party
Did your
weekends.
grandfather like the fact that you were successful here in Tampa and rock and roll? Did that kind of, was that
We never really
prior to
had a
his passing?
conversation about it. Well, he knew I was up here to go to school, and I used to think that I had found the great finding of Tampa Bay, and I didn't realize that one of his oldest partners was Santo Trafficani, who
Right.
was Tampa,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
and so my grandfather would always smile and just nod his head. He would never say anything, but he knew more about Tampa than I could ever know about Tampa. But
I'm sure. I'm sure.
yeah. Plus, Tampa was the hotbed of it all for a long time. They had underground tunnels in Ybor City, where any of the liquor that came in, they would hide in the underground tunnels. Sugar cane,
Right.
they'd hide. Slaves, they would hide. I mean, everything.
What do you think of Frank Regano's book when it came out?
I really didn't read all of Frank Regano's book, but a couple of the guys that wrote some other stuff about the Tampa mob, we've talked. We've done interviews together. I've teased them back and forth with them helping me to do my book. So and I've got some stories. I mean, I might not have been part of the real mob, but I had my guys. We got into trouble on our own. We pulled off a lot of games. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's always we'll call those youthful indiscretions, man.
Well, the name of those chapters will be the names were changed to protect the guilty.
Absolutely.
We'll come up with a whole bunch of new names.
Did you know Chacho, Jimmy? I think we talked about this last time with the whole bit in Casino where they died. I remember the first time I saw the movie, and I just said, they're not at the Tampa Zoo. They're at Lowry Park. If this is real.
Yeah.
And,
yep. That was true. That was my stepfather was in the Gambino family, and he had to leave the business in order to marry my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But his uncle was a very active member, and a couple of his guys were the ones that came up there to do that little episode at the zoo. They actually had a casino over off in Newport Richie on 19.
Right, you're right. Yep. And the what's the movie with Johnny Depp, who's all over the news?
Yeah.
How accurate was that with the lions and all that crap? Was that accurate?
Fairly accurate. I mean, I have an uncle on my father's side that wasn't very nice to me, and when my father died, really took advantage of the situation. And I said something to my stepfather, and he made a call for me. And apparently, my uncle in New York got a visit from a couple of guys, and they actually hung him out the window by his legs and told him never to ever contact me again. And he never did.
Hasn't heard close since, huh? Obviously,
he got the message across.
He got a good. He learned his lesson, or he got real quiet for a long time. I'll bet.
I was accused of doing something with this young lady one time who was underage, and I was still underage. And the girl's father, she had told her father that she was pregnant and that the baby was mine, but it was really a friend of mine. It was a beach bum that I knew real well.
Right.
And so she told her father it was me because she figured her father liked me. She wouldn't get in trouble. So I get an invitation from her brother to come to the house. His dad wanted to talk to me. And this guy starts hitting me with this heavy stuff that, he could have me killed. He could do this. He could do that. So I was a little bothered. And I couldn't understand. I said, Mr. Sanger, I don't understand what you're upset about. And he says, you knocked my daughter up. She's pregnant by you. And I said, I think somebody's mistaken here. So I went home and I told my stepfather. My stepfather grabbed me by the arm and marched me back over there. You should have seen this guy's face. My stepfather said, let me explain something. One phone call from me, and this whole house won't be here in the morning. He said, you better apologize to my son. And if he says he didn't do it, he didn't do it. He says, there's no doubt. He doesn't lie to me, and he won't lie to you. And it was true. I hadn't. And I have somebody that's my witness because she was a high school friend of mine that actually took the girl to this other guy's house. So, I mean, but we had grown up in the neighborhood together. I'm not going to say that we had early experiences in life together, but those particular experiences weren't mine with her. So
Right.
I was with the girl from across the street, you know. But
Yeah, right. Down the hall, or 2 stories down, you know.
of course, back then you didn't learn about sex in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and
No,
we all
it
knew
wasn't.
we were men and we were women. We didn't have any doubt in our lives. You know?
Yes, I understand. There
You
was
learned
no
the old-fashioned
confusion
way.
back in the mob, you know.
You learn the old-fashioned way on the street, the way you're supposed to. You know?
Yeah, exactly. We'll be as fucking confused and fucked up as everybody in our generation, you know.
Yeah.
The American way. I love it.
Listen, I think back on my life, and I would not change a single day of it. I have friends that are lifelong friends, like George here, and I mean, we have stories. I mean, we could sit and tell stories for hours. You know, you talk about the entertainment. We had bands that were just starting with us that, I mean, really, they broke all molds. I mean, they really developed different styles of music. Club and party music was brought to a whole new standard. We had
Right.
do
me a favor,
we had some
Terry.
of the greats, you know.
Can you put your left hand at 10 o'clock? That way I can see you.
I'm sorry.
You got a lovely forearm, man.
Hey.
For everybody watching, I'm talking to Gary Rappaport, master of the forearm. He's a forearm model from Tampa, Florida. Now, he's the grandson of Meyer Lansky, alleged mob boss. Some people would say alleged. I'd say, well, we're pretty sure after all this time he was the man. And we're talking about Tampa.
Not to mention a wonderful nightclub entrepreneur for many years, you know.
Absolutely.
I was the Mark Twain's 49th Street Mining Company, Fern Park Station up in Orlando, Rock City out on the Causeway.
Yes.
I mean, we made rock and roll happen in Tampa Bay.
Absolutely. They tell me I had a lot of fun at your various establishments, and I'm sure I did. I basically remember getting there a few times.
If you ever remember 10-cent drink night, that was us.
Yeah.
Ladies drink free on Thursday night with the male strippers. That was us.
Yep. Do you remember that old club? I don't know if you had anything to do with that one, called the Junkyard back in the day.
Yeah, that was Mike Kennedy's place.
Yes, Mike Kennedy. Yeah. That's it.
He was a basketball star at USF.
Yep.
And his dream was to open a little bar, and he did real well. I mean, he had a lot of the smaller bands were there, but you had the Agora Ballroom back then.
Right.
You had Shenanigans, which was right down the road. The other place. Everybody gives the Rocket Club a lot of credit. It was just a hole in a wall, but it got some big acts in there. It was surprisingly. Right. But what was the place over on 19 on Clearwater? Club 19.
Club 19. There we go.
It was always a battle between Mark Twain's and Club 19 for the best job.
Yep. So was there any kind of like redlining going, hey, you play over there, you ain't playing at my club, or did you guys get along?
Since I had the 3 top rooms in the state, and we had the best agent. We had Earl Tennant, who either started or booked every top rock band on the circuit. And so we developed the circuit. Well, my rule was I didn't care if they played.
Oh, you broke up. We're just having some internet connection. I don't know if the fans can hear it.
I had Lefty, who was
of course, Kenny McGee.
Kenny McGee and Lefty. Kenny is a dear sweet
great band.
But they were setting up to play in this little hole in the wall out there on Club 92. And,
no, I know. There's a rumor I may have fathered allegedly children there. You know, who knows?
But we walked in there, and the band with the sound guys were all setting up. And I walked in. I said, "Hey, how you guys doing?" He said, "Fine." He said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, we're playing here this week." I said, "No." Not if you're playing my room next week, you're not.
Yeah.
And they said, "But Gary, what are we going to do?" I said, "I'll feed you guys. I'll make sure you have a hotel room." I said, "But you're not playing here." I said, "I'll call Earl and see if he can find you another gig."
Right.
And they said, "Okay, if you say so." And I mean, yeah, actually, we're passing the old other place right now.
Right. Oh, is that where you're going? What's it called now?
Um, well, now it's a drug treatment center.
Oh shit! So you got a bunch of junkies standing around. All right.
Yeah.
See if you can pick up some new workers. I don't know. I need some scouts to put to work.
They're just putting the big wrought iron fence around it to keep them all locked in.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's an act center now.
Right.
I have to swing in here to my sign guy because he has to see the T-shirt that I'm wearing right now. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to take you in so you'll get to meet
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're here to document child cruelty.
Yeah, you get to.
Hold on, I'll get my suit and tie on, look a little more official, you know. Yes, I'm here
Georgie,
for
you stay here in the car?
Children and Families and Junkies Incorporated.
All right.
People are going live here. You're on live with Neve. We're with Gary Rappaport. He's Meyer Lansky's grandson, allegedly.
That or you could take a break for a commercial on the other.
I think that's what we'll do. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with Gary.
Tampa signs and printing.
All right.
This is the famous Tampa signs and printing that we're walking into now. Okay, let me turn the camera around here.
Does it still have the smell of rock and roll?
This place is like rock and roll all the time. And then you have Tim Poe here, the world famous sign artiste, and that keeps everything running. Jerry.
Welcome to the Live with Neve show. We're running our expose on you.
This is
you
Live
too.
with Neve. It's up north in New York. You guys, huh? Yes, you can smoke anything you want right now.
Yes, we are definitely allowed to indulge in that sort of thing. It's alleged, though, that I stopped that a long time ago, but who knows? Mysteries abound. I won't confirm or deny. Let's see. We got some comments coming in here. Sorry I've been ignoring you guys. Hello, Deb from Australia. Hey, Gina,
we
what's
only
happening?
deal with print shops that are bikers. They have to ride Harley Davidson, so we don't let them print our stuff.
Everybody should have a Harley at least once.
At least once. Let me sit down here for a minute while we're waiting for Tim.
Tell you what, I'm going to go to a break for a minute. We'll be right back with you.
All right, go to break for a minute. And then Tim can look at my T-shirt and make sure it's the right one.
5, 4, 3,
You can't find us?
1. You're live with Neve.
Hi, I'm trumpeter Greg Adams, and I'm live with Neve.
Like a melting flake of snow this year. I won't be sad to see it go.
Hi, I'm Darren F. Flynn, a singer-songwriter from Ireland, and I'm on Live with Neve.
I would have said it couldn't happen here.
All right. So we're sitting here. I've been talking to the grandson of Meyer Lansky. For those of you who are not familiar, I know some of my watchers are down in Australia, and you don't have any idea who these people are. However, I'm talking to Gary Rappaport, who is the grandson of a alleged mob boss and kingpin, who basically invented the system that the mafia became known as. Before, it was just a loose affiliation of people. He's dropped off now. He's out working, but this was just kind of a pop-up show. I had him booked, and as you can see, I'm up in my living room rather than down in the studio today. I appreciate you guys watching. Gary grew up uniquely positioned. He worked for his grandfather. And if any of you guys are mob history type fans, I urge you to check in when I have him on. I have a whole 2-hour segment I've shot with him. He's back now. He can sit there and he's hearing me talk about him in the background. But he's really interestingly positioned. He was in the music biz in Tampa. We were discussing all the clubs he owned. And he always had an excellent reputation. A lot of the people who were in biz and worked at those clubs in the band have nothing really but good stuff to say. And for good reason. He always paid. And he ran a great club, without a doubt. Those were like the rock and roll heavy metal days of Tampa. And that scene was really hopping. And as he mentioned, they had 4 of the biggest clubs in Florida. So it was really a pretty kicking situation. As I can see him, he's walking through, taking care of some business here. I am going to have him back on, and we're going to be doing an ongoing series of these little talks about the music business and how it intersects with the mafia at various points around the country. You can remember, in the words of the owner of the Iridium, there is no mafia. And now I see Gary's getting back out in his truck, so I'm going to let them get on the road. They're backing up and doing all their stuff. This show, I'm not sure how long we're going to be on for, but we're just we're driving around talking Tampa music and the mob and just life in general. So Gary, I'm going to bring you back on. I see you're in your truck. Here he is. What's happening? Can you hear me? I hear you.
And not disturb. No. Radio.
He's trying to get his headset corked in here. In the meantime, so tell me, who's talking out there? I see a few of you lurking in the shadows now. Put the comments back up. There we go. All right. Can you hear me? Hey, hold on. I hear you. There we go.
Blink for him. Again.
All right.
Technology. I need my son to handle this stuff, you know. Okay, when you see it light up and it says yes or no, hit no. Okay.
So what do you think about today with do you think that clubs will ever be back to the way it was in the 70s and 80s, just with all the drunk driving laws and shit like that?
Bluetooth. Uconnect. I got to get rid of Uconnect here. Hold on 1 second. Disconnect. Okay. Now, Neve, you should be back.
Oh.
Okay. You're back now?
Yeah, I'm here. So what do you think? It was kind of like the golden years in music in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You know, as far as clubs goes, it's sort of so different now with the dance club thing. I don't know if we'll ever see that. I kind of hope, though, that, you know, like here in New York, we have lots of great places to see live bands.
You know, it's kind of sad here because a lot of that has changed, and there's a lot of smaller clubs that, you know, these big guys they're squeezing into a little 10 by 10 stage.
Right.
There was a place out in town and country that had a really nice stage, a nice setup, and I just drove by there yesterday, and now it's a Spanish restaurant. So, it's just
It's hard,
times have
with
changed.
all the stuff on
Times have changed.
video. It's hard to get the people to move off their couch.
Yeah, I mean, the guys from Stormbringer, I'm sure, Rick Moon and John from Hoochie. Those guys got a great band. Stormbringers, I mean, they're
they're excellent.
They're a monster. And I mean, before what was the guy from Kansas? The guy that used to play the fiddle in Kansas, he used to play with them all the time.
Oh yeah, Robbie Steinhardt.
Robbie Steinhardt used to play with them, and he passed away recently. But Earl Brown used to play, a great local kid.
Great guitar player. Earl sadly passed away. Great guitar player in the Tampa music scene, people.
I mean, but anyway, Stormbringer, I'd book him at some of the different clubs that I used to be associated with after I got out of the business. And I'd still do some consulting here and there. And you'd go out there, and from 8 o'clock to like 11:45, the place was packed with old rockers like me. I mean, just jamming and dancing and eating and drinking and having a great time. At 11:45, bam!
Yeah, they roll up the sidewalk.
Empty. The place went empty. You'd come out there at 12:15, and where'd everybody go?
Absolutely.
Because we're grown-ups. Grown-ups have to go home, take their nap, and get ready for work in the morning.
Right.
Where in the 70s, man, we would party all night.
Well, some of the alleged habits some of the people do, man. It was easy to stay up,
Well, yes and no. But I mean, even still, there was a responsibility level that, and if you lost your job, fuck it. You'll get another one the next week,
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just a totally different lifestyle now. And,
it is.
I mean, the kids still go out and jam, but I mean, they're into electronic music. They're into synthesized music. I don't know. It's like you said before, heavy metal. We supported every style of rock and roll that was out there. I mean,
absolutely.
The guys from Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
They're still out there killing it.
But they were nothing but a heavy metal band when they first started. It was two brothers, and it was Sabotage. And Sabotage, they always begged, please let us play your room. Please let us play your room. And I gave them their break. And their very first album, I've got a little thank you credit on the back cover of the album. So, I mean, I love those guys. But I love all the musicians. I mean, I had trouble with maybe one or two different bands. One guy that I'm still friends with, his band came out and he's playing Whoops, There Goes Another Rubber Tree Plant as an opening number. And I called Earl. I said, what the hell are you doing? Who is this clown? He says, no, he plays other stuff. I said, if he doesn't play something a little better than this in the next set, he's out of here. He won't make it past Tuesday night. I guarantee it. And sure enough, he came through with some other good music. So, I mean, we had bands out of Chicago. And the weird thing in Tampa Bay, you had to build your following in Tampa Bay. You started by going to the bottle clubs, playing all the little holes in the walls, places like that. That's where you made your bones. Foreign Legion was, quote unquote, the fucking Vandals before they were. And they were the Vandals, but everyone called them.
It's funny. I remember seeing the Vandals at the Junkyard back in the day and playing there as an opening act.
But I mean, probably there were three great guitar players in Tampa Bay. Ziggy Lewis, Earl Brown.
Earl Brown, without a doubt.
And Romeo Stranger. Ronnie
Galletti.
Yep, right. And I'm going to tell you what, you would never find more talent anywhere in the United States than those three guys.
Absolutely.
Different style, but I mean,
killer band.
Yep. So I mean, and we just lost Ziggy a couple years ago to cancer. Ronnie died many years ago, and Earl died about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I've had his bass player on and his old singer.
His bass player, Taz.
Say again?
Taz.
I'm trying to think. It's been a while since Oh, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I'm having a brain fart.
His bass player is my brother-in-law.
Oh, no kidding. That's a small world.
And
His name
he's
is
played with
Rob.
no, that's the new bass player, or
Okay.
the later bass player. His
Oh,
original
gotcha.
bass player was Taz, and Spanish guy, and he's played with every major older rock group that you could think of. I mean,
Right.
from Johnny Van Zant, Edgar Winter. I mean, he's played in studios up in New York.
Gotcha.
I can't even remember Taz's real name right now, but I mean, there's been some tremendous talent out of this area.
Oh,
And then you look at the guys that made it big in this area. You had and I wrote all this stuff down one time when I was thinking about talking to you, and I don't even know where I put the list now. Mike Panero was great here. Who's the big bands we had here? Pat Travers.
oh yeah.
Molly Hatchet.
It's funny because those guys were all roaming around here. I mean, our band, we opened up for Molly Hatchet once up at the San Antonio Rattlesnake Festival.
Yeah,
Like we're talking 1980, 81, something like that. I was a young guy, man. I was like 19.
Well, Stranger, of course they moved on with age, but now Greg Billings, who was the lead singer and
Right.
the bass player, they formed a new band, the Greg Billings band, of course,
Right.
and they're still out there killing it.
I know
they
they're
do a lot of
recording
big
over at
shows.
Ronnie D's place right now.
Yeah.
We're just talking to him.
Great
He's
guys,
got a great
music.
band. Ronnie's fucking band kicks ass.
Yeah. I mean, there's still some good bands out there, but the thing that's tough is the only thing they can really play is like these venues that are doing festivals or big one-day shows. And
Yeah, the
sometimes they get on
tribute
the
band
tickets.
thing is huge out there too, with all the casinos
Yeah.
and shit.
Yeah. So I mean, it's there's a lot of different stuff out there going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, let's run for today. We're going to close out for everybody watching. I want to talk to you again after we get off. I'll text you when you got a good time again. We can talk.
Okay.
We're having an ongoing discussion here, people, about music, the Tampa Bay scene, a little bit of mafia trivia kind of intersects. I always say the intersection of music and the mafia. It's not usually too far away.
Well, my mother shared something with me, and unfortunately, it wasn't until a few years ago. She told me, she said, Grandpa had friends with RCA Records and all these different record companies. And I looked at her, I said, really? I said, now you tell me? 30 years ago, I could have used that information. I could have helped some of these guys get up and go, get to the right places, the right people. I said, now you tell me that, But my mother's always filled with surprises too late in life,
I'm going to have to try and track down her book. That ought to be entertaining.
Yeah,
next time I have you on, I can ask you some embarrassing questions, hopefully.
Absolutely. Please do. Please do.
Yeah, I don't think you're the kind of guy who gets too embarrassed too easily. You're really, thanks for coming on.
Nothing embarrasses me. I might blush for a second, but I always got to come back or a true story to go along with it. So.
Well, I'm sure you do, man. I really appreciate having you on. You're great fun, and I'll be down in Tampa, probably in the next month or two. And
come on, we'll go do some West Tampa cuisine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my friend. Well, listen, have a great day. And to our fans, Gina, I hope you have a great day out in LA. It's just starting to get the days starting out there. And as for me, I'm going to cook some good food tonight. In fact, you got me thinking about Tampa. I have to make some Cubano food. I have to make myself a little palomilla, some yellow rice, make a salad. You think I'm at fucking Teresita, man.
I was just thinking about getting some ropa vieja from there. So.
There you go.
All
right, everybody. Thanks for watching Live with Neve. We've been on with Gary Rappaport. We'll see him soon.
All right. That's it for today.
Move. Oh, my gosh. All right, everybody. You've been watching Live with Neve. This was a pop-up show. We went on. We got it done. And we're going to be back. Gary's an interesting guy. We've got a lot more to talk about. I've always been amazed when people think it's either interesting or unusual that there might be some intersection of the entertainment biz and the mafia. It's been written about. Movies have been made about it. in my life, I've had an interesting life and got to meet all kinds of people. And I've been playing drums since I was a kid, played in every kind of venue you can possibly imagine. Weddings, funerals, parties, biker parties, all kinds of weird stuff. Seen it all. And all I can tell you is there is an intersection out there. I've never had a problem with anybody I worked for who was alleged to be involved in the mafia. Any of those people who were alleged to, they never did anything for me except give me their word and pay me on time. So I never had to borrow money from any of them. And I knew where my place in the hierarchy is in the entertainment biz. And so I don't really listen to what people tell me other than, on the other hand, I'll listen to, Gary, because he's the nephew of one of the largest mob guys in the history of the country. So it's Friday. It's not Friday. It's hump day. Whoa. Let's see. Do we have anything that is right that we need a hump day update about? All I can say is I hope Johnny Depp gets some money, man. Seriously, the guy's getting raked. I don't dispute that he's probably been a bastard at times. Who cares? Everybody's an asshole. It goes on between a man and a woman. Nobody can really know the truth. And most of the time, there's fault that goes around in many circles. So I'm just of the mind that, she's gotten a pretty good settlement out of him. And she did her best to kind of screw up his entertainment career. So that's, I hope everybody's lucky in love out there. I hope you meet the love of your life. In spite of that, I will tell you. Oh, it's Thursday, Deb. Okay. See, I'm like, look here. I'm a quaint person from the past, Deb. Stuck here in this world without electrons. Oh, wait a minute. There's lights on. I guess there is electron flow. I could be sitting here. Let me get my charcoal scribe. I can't find it. This fork will do. We'll burn it. I'll be scribing away furiously. Furious. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Live with Neve. I'm going to just go up here and find something to click us out with. There's going to be some people leaving us. Some of these jingles is what I mean. Hi, Kitty. You want to hear our last theme song we did? Live with Neve, slide 5. No, that's my background. I don't think we want that. Let's go elsewhere. My cat came to visit me, people, because she thought that the music to go out of here was going to come up. Let's see what we've got.
Hey guys, my name's Eli Alger, and I'm here on Live with Neve.
Not happening. Where did it go? Oh my God. New intro here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve. This is Live with Neve. Iconic musicians, comedy, and God knows what else. Hold on!